Hello and welcome to Retrotainment, episode 18. Back again with my co-host, capital C, capital O, Greg. How are you doing, buddy?
What's happening, homie?
And this week we're joined by the man who escaped from New York himself, Luke Kane. How are you doing, bud?
I'm good. I'd like for the rest of the interview to be referred to as A number one, please.
A number one. Here he is. A number one.
A2. We'll give you an A2. We can't give you A1.
I'm the Duke, baby.
Well,
the Duke is king.
Yeah, he was for a while. Yeah, so it's a film that Luke chose for us. A cracking film. Like, to be fair, it's just, you can't really go wrong with 80s action, really, can you?
No. Well, this is one of them movies. He synonymized the 80s character action movies. Like, there was him and John McClane, and probably obviously Duke from Predator as well, or Dutch from Predator, but Snake is one of them ones that was big in the 80s and has carried on through as a character.
Well, it has all those great 80s tropes. You got the dystopian society. You have the fantastic intro music when it opens up.
Oh, it's
like
savage,
that. One of my favorite things about the movie is the music on it. It lets you know exactly what you're in for, you know.
You just know it's a John Carpenter special. It's dark, it's dull.
Yeah.
Well, you sure know it's a John Carpenter special within 2 minutes? You see his name about 80 times in the opening credits. I was like, good Lord, lads, we relax with that, will you?
Sure.
But there's, as well, you've got some great staples of 80s movies. Tom Atkins, you know, from like Halloween 3 and numerous other great 80s B movies. Adrienne Barbeau, like, who was the Scream Queen, and
Donald Pleasance as well.
Donald Pleasance, yeah, from Halloween, and Lee Van Cleef. Like, there's some great actors in it.
He sticks close to what he knew.
Yeah,
in terms of what he brings in.
If you know someone's good, why wouldn't you? And you can get them. Why wouldn't you?
What, he must have worked with Kurt Russell about 5 times during the 80s alone, or more.
Yeah, I mean, he had a successful guy there. Like, we did Big Trouble in Little China before, and like, as I said, that like he plays the kind of that 80s action hero so well. Do you know, he has like that nonchalant, like, I don't really care what everyone else thinks of me. I'm just gonna do what I want. Like, he puts that across, but it like works for him as well. It's not as if like it doesn't feel forced. Like, you feel like that's just what Kurt Russell's like.
You can tell.
And what I like is he's a bit different from the other. Like, he's not the 7 foot tall, gigantic, roided out dude. He's almost
super
like
jacked,
a normal guy, like, you know, which kind of makes him a bit more. I think it's the same with say John McClane in Die Hard. It's a little bit more relatable, you know.
Yeah, you're not super jacked. It's not Arnie walking around and you're like, no matter what I did, I'd never be that size. Like, you could kind of believe, you could trick yourself into saying, like, if I put the work in, I could get to that size of like a Kurt Russell, you know. Like, if I put the work in. But you're looking at Arnie and you're like, I can do whatever I wanted. I'm never going to be that size.
But like,
and your beautifully feathered hair.
Yeah.
But like, if
you know what? Watching this film again, I noticed that an insane amount. Kept thinking, man, his hair looks great.
It's the exact same. You notice it in Big Trouble in Little China as well. He's always going straight back to his hair to try and brush it out of his hair and all.
Listen, lads. You might think that that's just, you know, something he's doing for the film, but when you have long hair, that is just something that's constantly, like, your hand constantly goes up to it to push it out of your eyes. It's just always in your eyes, no matter what you do. Like,
yeah,
you're sitting still for 6 hours and the thing still gets in your eyes. You're like, what the fuck's going on here, lads?
Yeah.
But less about hair and more about the film, I suppose. I do like the music on the intro, but it is a bit of a slow start, I think, with the opening credits, and then they're explaining what happened. Like, you know, 1988, Manhattan Island turns into a
New York State Penitentiary.
New York State Penitentiary, but it's not really a penitentiary, like, because a prison has guards and stuff, and they tell you no guards go in. It's just you're lobbed in there as a prisoner, and you know, once you go in, you don't come back out.
Yeah,
not only that. If you think about it as well, like, say if they just kind of slapped up a wall around New York, how many people in New York refuse to leave their homes?
Yeah.
And then we're just kind of trapped in there.
Yeah.
You know?
A lot.
Another thing I thought about was what happened? Do they sterilize people before they go in, or are there?
Yeah, I don't know. And like, is there food? Like, is there food being transported in?
Yeah, you see that later on. Yeah, they see them when they're coming in on the chopper.
Film, yeah, there's a food drop area
where they are in the park.
Yeah, it's a weird one though, like, because you're kind of like, you know, the place is in bits. Like, this isn't like, it's not a prison. Like, it's a bomb site. Like,
they start then when you see them, they're starting going through the water, and the lads are coming out in a little tiny raft.
Yeah, you see how secure it is. Like, big chopper shooting them down. Like, one warning shot, and right, okay, we'll just blow you up. You didn't turn around quick enough.
Yeah, and then it's just 2 dead in the water.
Yeah,
it's just no shit taken.
Yeah, it's a very good start. Like, it really gives you the idea of what it is. Like, they're in here and they're definitely not getting out. Like, there's choppers flying around. There's a massive wall around the whole thing. We've been told that the bridges and the sewers and stuff have been blocked off with explosives. So, like, you're kind of thinking, once you go in there, yeah, I'm just going to stay here.
But what I like here is, when you see them coming through the port, getting ready to go into the island, if you wish to be terminated, please tell your guard now.
Yeah.
I like that as well. In fact, I think it didn't show it in this, but in the second movie, which nowhere near as good, you actually see them kind of being mass executed as they're going in towards, I think it's LA in the second movie, but
yeah, LA, yeah.
It's a nice touch to say, like, if you don't want to go in, we'll
just finish it here.
Yeah. There's
we'll finish it here for you.
When they're bringing Snake in the first time, like, as he's coming in and you hear, that if you wish to be cremated or whatever, let the guards know and all that. You see him coming in and then he gets stopped. And they don't really make a big deal about it. It's just like, wait there for a second. And you're kind of just thinking, oh, it's probably just, a random processing. And then you don't see him again for another little bit until, like, we see the unidentified aircraft flying in space into their space and them just trying to contact it.
Yeah.
And it ends up being David 14, which is an Air Force One. And they say it's Air Force One. It's just a normal plane, like. Yeah. It's like, literally, this is the plane you'd get if you were going over to England or something like.
When you one's flying the plane, your man doesn't see you making much of an effort to get through that door. Like, it's a almost.
Hey, let me in. No. Let me in. No. Oh.
Okay, I'm just gonna go sit down for a bit then.
Can you use the gun? No, she pressurized the cabin.
Yeah, I mean,
you're about to hit a building. Another thing that jumped out for me at that bit is, man, you could not make that movie now.
No, Jesus, no.
Oh God, no.
Well, especially like even that, like, he lands a plane on the World Trade Center. I was sitting there watching it this morning, going, "Oh!"
And when the plane hits the side of the building as well,
you're just like,
holy shit.
But I do like that they put him in. The president, he's like sitting there with this briefcase, and they're all just sitting there, nice and calm. Like, one, how has this person, taken over their plane?
Where did she come from?
He seems to have done it without any hassle from any of them. They've all just sat at this table, and she has no help because there's nobody else on the plane. So they just all just sat there and watched her walk up and take their plane. And
maybe she was part of the flight crew because she is already in the flight deck. So maybe she was the co-pilot and killed the pilot.
Yeah, possibly, but it's kind of a bit of a weird one. Like, and then he's just kind of sitting there with all the lads. So what's the story? Are we getting out? Oh, no, we're not. We're going to put you in the pod. And here's this thing that'll track you.
Just a little watch and that was it.
And then the rest of them are just like, yeah, I suppose we'll just die. Like,
what else can you do?
Yeah, if you know
that's going to happen, then the cabin's pressurized so we can't shoot her, or it'll, you're going to die anyway. You may as well go for it, like.
Yeah.
But
they didn't seem like they were fairly super chill about crashing into a building,
Yeah.
It was just, but like, yeah, looking at it this morning, I was like, oh, Jesus, no.
The pod is so, like,
it's just a little egg.
The little egg, and then the way it lands, like, they have it land so it's like sat up absolutely perfectly, like in between all the rubble. You're just kind of like, I mean,
do you remember the show Mork and Mindy?
Yeah.
He came down with the little egg.
Yeah, you have to be thinking, like, is that where that came from, or like?
He could not have picked that up and just went, there.
Yeah. It doesn't look like it bounced around or anything. It just kind of landed nice and gently there in the crash site.
Yeah, it was fairly perfect, you know.
But we see that it's landed there, and they send in the big guns to rescue the president. And then he's just not there, and they're like, "Oh."
That is actually one of my favorite bits of the movie. Is the little guy who comes out with the hair standing up, Romeo, I think his name is.
He's brilliant, to be fair.
He's possibly my favorite character in the whole movie. You know, I want to know more about this dude. Like,
do you know
who is this guy, and you know, what does he do for the Duke?
when he's walking up to the guy, up to your man at the when they're looking for him, he looks like Steve Buscemi from way back.
He does a bit.
I'm looking at him going, no.
I'm the same as you, Luke. I'm like, what did this guy do to get into such good graces with the Duke? Like, what can this guy offer? Because so far, all it looks like he can offer is that he's a bit mental.
Yeah, I want to know more about Romeo, you know?
Yeah, but he has the president's finger, and he says, you know, you either leave now or we'll just kill him. Like,
well,
doesn't bother us.
He just starts counting down then.
Yeah, it's just it doesn't bother us. Like, we're in here anyway, so we're not getting out anyway. May as well just try our luck. So they leave, and then we see the meeting where we see Snake get introduced properly. What I love about this is they bring him in, and he calls him. He's like, Plissken. Don't call me Plissken. It's Snake.
Yeah. And he makes a big deal out of that.
Later on to that as well.
It's the callback later. Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite clever.
He makes a really big deal of that. Call me Snake.
Call me Snake.
And man, one thing I say for Carpenter, getting Lee Van Cleef for that role.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And I think supposedly Lee Van Cleef was very sick. I think he was dying at the time from lung cancer. When they were filming that, so that was his last movie. So to manage to get what can only be described a giant of movie, you know,
the spaghetti western king.
Yeah, it's a great performance as well. Like, especially when you consider if he was that sick at the time, like it's a great performance as well. He does his part very well. I was saying to Greg before we came on that this is one of the few bits that kind of makes the film a bit weird. They all know Snake. They're like, yes, we know you, and we thought you were dead, but no one alludes to why they know Snake. He alludes that, you know, I know you from your military record, right? Which makes sense because he'd have access to all that. But all the guys in the penitentiary all know him, and they're just like, yeah, we know Snake.
There's actually a deleted scene. I've seen it before, right? And the reason why he's so famous, was originally explained, was he robbed the Federal Reserve, and there's a whole thing where it's all filmed, him robbing the Federal Reserve.
Right.
That was how he got captured.
Yeah. I was going to say, because they say that in the movie, that's what he's gone into prison for.
Yeah, Fresno, he mentions him and Fresno Bob and Brain.
Yeah. Brain's inside already.
But you see, like, Brain is already inside. Fresno Bob obviously dies, but like, how did the people that were already in there know? Like, that's the bit that kind of gets me. I'm like, why is he so famous that everyone knows exactly who he is, like, just by looking at him? Oh, I know you. It's a bit weird. But they eventually strike a deal of, you know, you'll go in and you'll rescue the president, and we'll give you this pardon
for everything,
for every crime you've committed. Now, they don't say for everything; they say every crime you've committed in the United States.
Yeah, well,
which makes me wonder: did he commit crime somewhere else, and they're just going to throw him in there for that anyway after it?
Well, no, I'd say that's alluding to the military. Whatever he was made do there, probably count as war crimes around the place or whatever.
No, well, they wouldn't count as war crimes because the US, he was only doing what the US government would have told him, so they wouldn't be considered war crime.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's told, you know, like, you'll be given a pardon, and they bring him around, you know. This is what you'll be doing. This is how you'll be flying in. And then you have to get this injection, by the way. And here's one watch that tells you how much time you've got. He was originally told 24 hours, and then they're like, you've got 22 hours. He's like, well, hang on. Where'd the other hours go?
Sometimes I like the ticking clock as a kind of a way to rank the excitement. And I think they do it really well in there. But even watching that now, I kind of thinking, sometimes the ticking clock, it kind of feels a little played out, but they do handle it well in this. I
think it's probably a little played out now,
Yeah.
But if you think about, like, this came out in 1981, so you think about then, and you're like, yeah, it probably wasn't played out trope back
And
then.
I have another question: is why the hell did we never get the? I know they're in this movie, but I always think of them as the Total Recall needles, like the gun needles.
Yeah.
Doing the neck.
Every 80s movie in the future had those fucking blasty ones. But I feel a little bit robbed we never got them.
Yeah. But he gets two, they're meant to be vaccines or whatever injected into him. And then they're just going to let him go. And thankfully, the scientist goes, you should probably tell him. And your man's, oh, fine, I'll tell him. It's like, yeah, you definitely should, because he was going to fly the other way. Like, the president was dead anyway. Like,
man was 100% flying to tell him.
Beer and his head would blow up.
Yeah, why weren't you planning on telling him in the first place? But yeah, there's two little capsules put into him that are going to dissolve over 22 hours. And once they dissolve, they'll blow up and destroy both of the arteries in his neck, essentially killing him.
Yeah, he'll bleed out.
And he's told an X-ray will
take out.
will nullify that, which
I'm not sure how that works, but sure.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. Okay, whatever. So they fly him. They get him to fly in anyway on the
little matchstick plane.
Yeah, this weird little silent plane, and he lands on top of the World Trade Center. Gets the lift down to floor 50, and then it's like, and you just need to walk the rest of the way. It's like 50 flights of stairs. Ah, lads, good luck.
Yeah, it should not be half the movie for me. I'd use up 12 hours just getting down the stairs.
Yeah. That's what I like, though, because they
just lean on the rail and roll.
That is one thing I like, though. They have him land, and then the next time he looks at the watch with the timer on it, an hour or so has, like, nearly an hour and a half or so has gone by. So you're like, okay, there's time to fly in, and then, like, you do have to climb down 50 flights of stairs. It's going to take a bit, like, it's
well,
not...
like in most John Carpenter movies, when he has a time set on it, even in the likes of Halloween and all, you'll see it drags on, and it's not like it's 6 o'clock now and all of a sudden it's 12:30. He'll have something that ticks between the times.
Yeah.
So like he does use it up.
Yeah, he does it well, to be fair, which is probably one of the biggest problems I have when there is a timer on stuff, is that it either goes way too slowly or goes way too quickly just to...
Yeah, it ticks along nicely in this. It ticks along really... It's another thing I noticed with the movie is there's no boring bits in it. Its pacing in the movie is fantastic. Yeah. It's never, ever dull. There's no bit of the movie where you're kind of... Your mind's drifting off it. It does pace along really well.
It builds suspense really well as well. Like when he comes out of the World Trade Center and it's dark and you see little random people running by, and when he comes out of the elevator right at the bottom of the top of the 50th floor, he's walking to find the stairs and someone just runs behind him.
Yeah, it's filmed really. And then you have the crazies show
up. Yeah, they show up not too long after. The other watch watch, I suppose, that he has is the thing with the little button that gives them a 15-minute tracking window on him, which comes into play a little bit later on. He doesn't really use it too much here, but he goes down and then he has the thing that tracks the president's watch. So he goes he's wandering around and he eventually finds it. And as he walks in, we see there's some sort of show on. Some sort of, like,
it looks like a Broadway show.
Yeah, a Broadway show where just people are just sitting around watching it. And Cabby is there now. Cabby, he just looks like he's so happy in himself. And
that's Ernest Borgnine, but Ernest Borgnine, I think, started out his career playing bad guys. And it's nearly impossible now when you see him in this, or like if you picture him in SpongeBob, the voice of what's the superhero in SpongeBob he's the voice of. It's the same thing. It's hard to picture.
Conical, the guy with the mask, the conical shell mask.
Yeah.
But like, it's hard to picture that he was always a bad guy in the old films.
Yeah, but you can kind of get, like, the smile he has on this is kind of, it's not sinister, but it's like you can see he's lost his mind. It's got that, like, I'm absolutely insane smile, and you're like, what the hell is wrong with this guy?
One thing I thought
Snake, I wouldn't go down there. And Snake's just like, yeah, shut up, I'm going to go down here.
I wondered about Cabby. Was Cabby one of those people who just never left New York? Like, did he do anything to get sent there? Because he says, I've driven this taxi for 30 years in New York.
That's what I'm wondering. Did he just stay, or has he just lost his mind? And he's just like, yeah, I've been driving this cab for 30 years. And you're like, no.
But there goes back to that point where we were saying that everybody knows Snake, people inside and out, because he recognized Snake walking by.
Yeah, that's my point. It's a bit weird that people like him can just recognize him so easily. But we see Snake go down and he locates the president's tracker, and it's just on this.
That fella is
crazy homeless guy.
Battered.
Yeah, just some homeless guy getting punched around a bit, and then he's like, "This isn't the president."
Yeah, and they're like, "Singing hell to the chief."
Yeah, and he's like, "Okay, the president's dead. I'm coming home. If you come back over that wall, I will shoot you.
I'll shoot you down." Yeah.
Yeah, great. Like stuck here then.
What I noticed in this movie and a lot of other John Carpenter movies, it's not like other like horror and suspense movies where he builds it, where there's a group of people in the room and you keep picking one off by one. Like when he hits that first guy, the other guy knows he's there.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's a surprise when he goes up to him.
Yeah, like, and he hits the second guy pretty quick as well. Like,
yeah, the second guy turns around to know he's there. Like,
yeah, but he comes out from here and he's kind of wandering around, and he goes into there's some guy walks along and he's like hitting the tops of the
sewers.
Manholes, like the sewers and manholes, and you're kind of like, what the fuck is going on here?
It's just another nutcase.
So he starts to follow him to see, you know, what's this guy at? And then we see people coming up out of the sewers and everything. So he backs into this little diner, and we learn that these are the crazies, and they come up once a month when they run out of food.
You know what? That's the creepiest thing, when they run out of food, because you see them, you're thinking, okay, so what do they eat?
That's exactly what I thought. I was like, do they come up here? Because when they, you know, the girl that he meets in the bar also knows him, and she's like, oh, yeah, she gets pulled down, and you don't hear anything, and they're kind of like, are they going to eat her? Is that what's happening here?
You know, if they're up looking for food, because they chase them for quite a while as well.
Yeah,
through the buildings. Like he's scaling up the side of fire escapes, through windows, shoots down the wall, jumps through it.
Yeah, it's a bit. I kind of like. I was the same as you, Luke. I was like, I think they're eating people.
Definitely are. I'm having a fillet of breast.
Yeah. But he eventually he's running along, and Cabby picks him up and throws a petrol bomb at him.
He just does that so nonchalant. He just pulls up, get in. Yeah. He's there talking to him. You just see him with the little bottle. It's like, okay. He has a little.
The only thing I was thinking that was like, I mean, imagine like I would say petrol is at a premium. I wouldn't be hurling bottles of it around, especially when you could be driven off.
Well,
see, that's the thing. He makes a point of that. He's like, this stuff is quite rare, and then just throws it away, and you're like, why are you throwing away stuff that's really rare? What the hell's wrong with you?
There's a big point they make.
Anything.
There's a big point they make in this where they say that people have designed the cars to run off steam now.
And I didn't see a single steam vehicle.
No, they're all petrol.
No, well, the Things one is, isn't it? The Duke's one, because you see it coming out of the side and it's blowing white steam out.
I just assumed that was the gas. I just assumed that was the
sewers and stuff.
Well, I assumed his like the exhaust was just bollocks on his car, and he wasn't overly concerned with getting that fixed, because he's the one who keeps asking Brain to make petrol.
Yeah,
because that's who makes it. So
yeah, sure. Imagine you're quite limited in a steam powered car.
Yeah,
but I'm out of juice, boys.
One thing I will say is, I from watching the Duke's car is, I mean, there's definitely not enough cars driving around our streets with chandeliers on them.
No, you need more chandeliers on the front of our cars.
When you want to ride in class, that's what you do. You don't get fucking chrome grills and
wheels.
One chandelier, one chandelier on each side of the car, sorted, boys.
Yeah, it's classy.
But we see Snake put the gun on Cabby, and he's like, "Where's the president?" He goes, "The Duke has him." "Well, you take me to the Duke." "Oh no! Once you meet the Duke, you don't come back out alive." And he's like, "I don't care. Take me to him."
Snake was a bit of an asshole in this part, actually.
Yeah,
he just saved your ass. He says he's going to help you. What are you pointing a gun at him for?
Yeah, but at the same time, I suppose you're kind of like,
he could be.
I've got less than 20 hours to live before my neck explodes. Let's not have you dicking around here, mate. Bring me to this man now.
That man definitely looks like he'd procrastinate with everything.
Yeah, But he doesn't bring him to the Duke. He's like, I know someone who'll get you there. So he brings him to Brain.
Yeah.
Who happens to be Snake's old friend.
Yeah. So I think I don't know if they ever confirm it, but I reckon he is supposed to be the guy who left them in the Federal Reserve.
He is, yeah, because he says the last time you ran off on me.
Yeah, but the only thing about that is, I mean,
he got captured
Snake
first.
On the run for?
Yeah, and how did Snake get away from that? If Brain got captured,
but doesn't he say that he escaped, but Fresno Bob didn't? But so has Snake been on the run for 4 years? I would have liked to have seen that addressed a bit clearer, you know?
Yeah, that's probably my one big issue with this is that, like, one, everyone knows him and you don't really know why. And then two, like, how did somebody who left him behind get captured before him?
Yeah, and it looks like Brain's been there a while, like he's dead up.
Well, he's worked his way up to, being pretty close to the Duke.
He literally went to the Duke and was like, I can make you what you want.
Yeah, and he was giving Adrian Barbeau as a little gift, like Maggie.
Yeah.
So, you know.
That's the one thing I do like about Cabby. He gave her as a gift.
His name, please.
Yeah, you're like, man, that's it's so cringy to like, that's a, you know.
You know, she's a great actress, so I love her. She was great, and she would have to stay one of the original Scream queens, like. She was in Swamp Thing and Creep Show, and
she was in
good ones.
She was in quite a few really good things, and then she was in. There was a remake of Swamp Thing, or like maybe not of the film, but of like a series or something, and she was in that as well. I think
that was only there last year, the year before, wasn't it?
Yeah, I haven't watched it, but she was in that. Like I seen that she was in that as well, and I was like, oh, that's a nice little throwback to the original to bring her back in, like.
Lads, her whammos look great in this movie.
Well, I mean, she was a gift, you know.
Yeah, oh, Jesus, you know.
But
back in the day,
they explain what the Duke's plan is. Essentially, they're going to go across the bridge because Brain has worked out where all of the mines are, so they can get around it, and they're going to use the president as basically a human shield. Now, Duke has said, "I'll get everyone out," and you're like, "Well, I mean, it's only one president." Like, how's he going to protect all of those people? Like, he's going to go single file behind the president, one after the other? Because if you all spread out, like, they're just going to pick a load of you off. Like
they make a big point of that. Like, the bridge is mined.
Yeah.
Right? And Brain has a map from a guy who made it across the bridge, but then got shot. So how did he get the map?
I think the idea, though, is they're going to argue for amnesty. Doesn't he say that they demand amnesty for everybody in New York?
Yeah.
That was the whole, I think that was the crux of their plan, is that they're going to go across after they get their amnesty. But they don't realize, of course, that the president's only important until the summit happens. And then afterwards, I mean, he's instantly replaceable.
Yeah, 100%. He has the tape.
Yeah. But they're discussing this, and then we see... they've decided, right, we're going to go and rescue the president here. And when they do that, that's when Duke pulls up to Brain's house.
Yeah, and they're outside looking.
And we have all the cars lined up there. And Cabby pisses off. He's like, you don't cross the Duke. Bye.
Well, like, he's not wrong, to be fair.
I mean, he's survived there for a couple of years, 33 years he's been there, apparently, so...
even though the prison opened in 88.
Yeah,
and it's now 91.
I think it's 97, is it? 97,
97. Yeah,
97.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, it's 9 years, but he's been there 33, so,
so
a couple of extra years on him.
He must be one that never left.
Well, as I said, it's either that or he just has no idea what, how long he's actually been there and it's just kind of made things up for himself. But they steal a car. Snake steals a car.
He does not steal, he commandeers.
Yeah, I suppose there's no real stealing either. Like, nobody really owns anything.
I don't know. If you walk up to a guy and pistol whip him and take his cards, pretty much stealing it.
It's GTA style, Like, I'm just, you can have this back when I find something better, but for the moment, this is mine. They decide to drive down Broadway. Brain tells him, just drive down Broadway there, that's fine. I mean, not a great idea, because the first thing we see in Broadway is some guy's head on a spike. And then after that, it's just a load of lads firing stuff at his car and, like,
she
jumping on
says it,
his car.
Didn't she? She says, you don't go down Broadway. And he's like, yeah, no, well, Duke will take the 76 and it'll take an extra 7 minutes.
Yeah. But they drive down here, get to the end of the road, and there's a big barricade, and you're kind of like, well, maybe we shouldn't have come this way. But Snake just thinks to himself, I'll just reverse through, you know? Don't worry about that. That massive mound of cars piled on top of each other. I'll just reverse through that. No bother. It's fine.
Yeah, that's brilliant. He just slams it in reverse.
I like that the guys stop as well. They chase him all the way there. He reverses out, and then they just stop, and they're like,
"Nah, yeah, he's gone.
He broke our barricade.
Nope.
Let's leave him go. Leave him go. He deserves it. He deserves it."
Like that to me. That to me either tells you that Duke has that done, and that's his area.
Well, I don't think so. I think because he said the Duke won't go down that way. So I think the Duke hasn't actually got full control of New York, but he has the closest thing to, say, a government in New York.
Yeah.
Where on the fringe, it's just lunatics, the crazies, the people in Broadway. They don't seem to have any structure. But at least with the Duke, you have structure.
You've got class.
Has electricity, yeah. He has chandeliers in his car, you know.
Yeah. I mean, the lads on Broadway are just they're throwing themselves at this car. Well, one of them got shot, and they're just still like, let's just keep throwing ourselves at this car. Like, they clearly have no idea what's going on. They're just these guys are just completely insane.
That car has spikes coming out of the wheel.
Yeah, like they're completely they're clearly just people who are just like, you're like, there's no reasoning with them. No matter what you do, they will just attack you just because that's what they think is the best thing for them to do. So they get through, and, you know, Snake's like, right, I go rescue the president then. Use to distract those guards over there. So Brain walks up. I'm here to see the Duke. Nope. Duke says you're not allowed in. Well, he told me I am allowed in. He told me you're not. All right.
Classic.
We'll just stand here then.
Well, he told me I can come in.
Yeah, but Snake manages to sneak in onto it's a train, is it?
It's like a train, yeah. Carriages and a train.
Yeah, he sneaks in. He supposes he's sneaking in. One guy is watching the president, and the other guy is kind of looking out the window. Yeah, and Snake takes down the guy that's just kind of standing around, and you're kind of looking at the president, who gives it away because he's like looking at him. He's like, oh, "I'm being rescued." It's like, man, maybe play it a bit cool. Like, don't let them know that, you know, somebody's come in to rescue you. Because the other guy just turns around and goes, "Hey, what are you doing here?"
Shoots him in the leg with a fucking crossbow.
Shoots him in the leg, and then we see a proper Jack Burton move here, just ping a knife into the man's dome.
Well, yes, I thought exactly the same thing, actually. It was very...
Bang!
Quick reflexes.
Yeah.
What was the name of the guy who gave him the potion in Big Trouble in Little China? Egg
Shen.
Egg Shen.
He had some Egg Shen's potion, you know?
Yeah. Had another little drop left in him.
Well, I think this is the movie that got him Big Trouble in Little China, I think.
It is, yeah. You know, we did Big Trouble in Little China first here, so...
Yeah, but no, yeah, it's brilliant. Just straight into the middle of the forehead.
Yeah, but they managed to get the president out from there, and then all of the Duke's men just come out and take control, and then Duke shows up, and Brain's a rat, and he's just like, "Sorry, Duke, he had a gun on me." And you're like, "Man, no, he didn't. You're such a rat."
Brain is a snitch.
Yeah, but we see, you know, he gets knocked out, and then
he puts up a good scrap here though at the start.
He does at the start, yeah.
He's got a couple with one leg.
But he wakes up with some guy pointing a crossbow at him, and the two things on his arm's gone. So the timer and the thing that lets them know where he is gone. And we see the president up against the wall, handcuffed up against this wall, and
this is the strangest scene of the
Duke is just
shooting at him,
but like around him, like making sure he doesn't hit him. And whenever he misses, they're all like, "Yeah!"
But like he's shooting at him, and then he has the gun resting on his foot, just holding it up, and he's like.
Yeah, it kind of shows the level of the Duke. Like, even though he's, you know, got essentially what is the most civilized area, you're also like, this guy's a bit crazy.
He's still a thug. Yeah, well, he's still a thug.
Your whole plan is still, you know, we'll use the president to get out, and you're firing a gun at him. Like, and if you slightly miss and shoot him, oh, well, that's that plan gone.
One thing I will say, this sets up one of my favorite things in the movie, and it's something that John Carpenter builds well. It's where Romeo takes the tape. Okay, and it sets up a lovely sequence because later on you see him with Cabby's hat.
Yeah.
And you don't see anything. It's just
you don't. There's no. He's letting. What it's doing is he's letting you figure it out yourself. Why he hasn't wearing Cabby's hat, and then of course comes back later on in the movie why he was wearing Cabby's hat.
But he does that.
I like that when he picks it up, he puts it in his arm, and you're just like, why?
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. You're just like, it's so weird, but it's exactly what someone like that would do. He wouldn't just think to put it in his pocket or anything, or even say to Duke, like, hey Duke, he's got something. He's just like in front of Duke. He's just like, I'll just keep this. It's fine. It's mine.
Yeah, now. And it's what everybody in the movie's looking for, and he trades it for Cabby's hat.
Yeah.
But like John Carpenter does that really well in loads of different movies.
Yeah, he leaves you to work it out yourself.
Like I think
I like that. He's assuming you're intelligent enough to figure it out because there's nothing worse than getting battered with exposition. I don't.
Hey, look, he took the tape. Hey, look, he has the tape. And you're just like, yeah, I saw him pick up the tape. Like, come on, I don't need it like spelled out to me. It's not a children's film.
I don't need to see him trade the tape with Cabby.
Yeah, you don't need to like.
You just get the tape. You just know.
And like, you've been showed from very early that Cabby has the tapes in the car already, like a stack of them. So you've already got this. Like, you've been given that little clue. Then you see him pick up the tape. Then later he has Cabby's hat, but
it's all done so subtly, and I don't feel like movies do that anymore. They're not subtle like that, and now they're. That's why I like some of these 80s movies. They do it so well that it'll come almost subtle, kind of leading you along without slapping you in the face with exposition.
I think it's that they expect you, like in the 80s, they were like, "You're watching the film. We expect you to pick up on things." Yeah. Whereas now they're like, are you watching the film? Maybe not. So here's, a real simple explanation as to exactly what's been going on. And you're like, yeah, but I'm watching this film. Like I saw him with the tapes. I saw him pick up something. I saw him now with Cabby's hat. I've put one and one together and worked out, that's what he's like. That's where this tape is now.
Yeah. Now they do allude to it though when he says he traded something for it.
They do. He makes a point like because. Brian is like, how did you get Cabby's hat? And he's like, traded them. And you're like, okay, well, what would he have traded them? And from then I was like, well, Cabby has all the tapes in his car.
Or the petrol.
No, because Cabby gets the petrol from
Brian, I know.
Brian. So you're like, what does Cabby have in his car? He has a load of tapes. He clearly likes listening to music. So they don't know what's on that tape.
Broadway to see the show.
Yeah, and you're like,
he's willing to risk his life to see the show.
Yeah. And he says that he's like, normally I wouldn't be out here, but I couldn't miss that show. And you're kind of like, what does Cabby want? And you're like, he likes music. Mm-hmm. You've got a tape. What's going to be on the tape? Well, we don't know, but presumably it's going to be music. So you're like, well, I can get something from Cabby for that. So that's what your man that's what he does. But while all that's happening, Snake has been, Snake's woken up, and they're like, right, let's bring you to this kind of boxing wrestling ring sort of thing.
He has a big number 2 on him.
Yeah, and what I like is when he's coming in, they're all booing him. Like everyone's booing, boo, boo, and like they all hate him. And then this big massive guy gets in, and everyone loves that guy.
This is the ultimate Rocky 4 scene right here.
Well, I mean, this is like it's one of the worst fighting sequences I've ever seen. Like I have to say, like it's so bad. Like you could really tell they're like.
Trying not to hurt each other.
Yeah, it's like we can't afford to not get real bats. So like, don't hit each other with the bats, but make it look like you are. So they're like, and you're like,
it's a little bit stick fighty, all right.
when you see a man swinging them, and then you see Kurt Russell or the Snake swinging them back, he's just barely tipping his shield.
Yeah,
it's kind of like.
Snake gets kind of beaten around the first time when it's just the normal bats, and then they get given the
nail bats,
the bin lids, and the bats. And they're kind of trading away little by little, and when it looks like the big guy is going to get his win, Snake fires up the shot into what I'm assuming is his midsection, but maybe a bit lower. It might have been a low blow with that bat. I don't know.
It did kind of come to an abrupt end. In fairness, like it was okay. Oh, that's it. All right.
Yeah, but see, what I like is he's hit him with this bat with loads of nails in it. Right, it's hit him in the stomach. No blood. Your man kind of bends over, clunks him in the back of the head with it. The thing goes through his head. No blood. This guy's fine. Like just he's dead. Yes, but like no wounds on him or anything. Like, just that's
John Carpenter done a great job here, though, is when they're switching the weapons, you see a man standing on the outside with his arms up, and he has the watch on.
Well, he doesn't have the watch. He has the
that's the tracker watch.
The tracker, yeah. And then
the big guy has the watch on.
Yeah, everyone's cheering when
Snake kills him.
When Snake kills him, and they're all like, Snake, Snake, Snake. And you're like, it's a good kind of, these people they'll cheer for whoever's,
the most violent.
The most violent and the one who's winning, So that guy was getting cheered because he's obviously won a few fights. So they like him. But now that he's lost a fight, well, one, he's dead, so you can't cheer for him anymore. But two, like, whoever beat him is now the new, the new favorite. Yeah.
And then the Duke arrives again.
Well, the Duke is up in
or the Duke.
Yeah, your man comes in to tell him that the brain has stolen the president.
Yeah, he's like, Brain stolen the president. What I like is when Brain steals him,
Romeo.
He kills Romeo. He's like, what are you doing in here? And he's like, oh, the president has a cyanide pill in his jacket, and we need to check for it. Duke told me. And, Romeo's not smart enough to just go, no, that's not true. So it takes him a while to work it out. And it's when they get over to the president, he's like, that doesn't seem right. And he's just like, yeah, well,
rest in peace, Romeo.
Jabbed him right in the stomach.
I mean,
I love how he hissed as he was dying as well. Like, he was so. Do you know what as well? It's the look of hurt on his face. Like, oh, why would you do this to me for?
Yeah,
I didn't do nothing to you guys.
I thought we were friends, and you're like, man, you're crazy. Nobody's your friend. Like, you're just, everyone just kind of stays on your good side so that you don't.
And again, Maggie is MVP again, and she just like wipes out everybody in the room. Yeah,
she's a good shot. Like, cleans out the rest of the boys pretty easy.
She's like one of the best characters. She's one of the most kind of kick-ass characters in the whole film.
And she does she has very little. She has very little dialogue or anything.
Yeah.
She's a presence.
Yeah, I thought she was great in it.
Yeah, I arguably behind Snake and Lee Van Cleef, and Romeo maybe the best of them.
Romeo's not like a particularly great character. He's just interesting because you're interested in him because you're like, how the hell did this guy get to be like Duke's right hand man? Like, what the hell has this guy done? Like,
what does he bring to the table apart from looking gnarly?
Yeah, apart from looking absolutely insane. Like,
he's definitely butchered about 4,000 people for him.
Yeah, you have a feeling that the reason he's in there is that he's killed quite a lot of people. Like, maybe that's why Duke keeps him around. But you're kind of like, I'd like to know a little bit about that guy.
I'd watch a movie about that.
We see them, they go to escape and they run down and they're like, Brain's like, yeah, I got a car down here. So, Grant, we'll go get in the car. They're, Snake is obviously limping because he's been shot in the leg. And all he's got is just a bit of, fabric tied around it. So he's limping down the stairs and they go to get in the car and they're like, oh, it's not working. So they go to open the hood of the car with the engine, and your man with the crossbow just comes up. You're just like, how long were you in there? Just waiting. Yeah. I can't wait for them to open this up.
I will say, have you ever actually tried to lift an engine out of a car? They're heavy. Like, I mean, you're not going to get one of them out. That's what I feel is a very short sequence of time.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. They've managed to get it out, and this guy's just like, and how long's he in there? Like, don't just when they come down, like, don't just pop up and shoot one of them. Like, sit there until they open it. Wait, man, it'll be real funny. Like, okay.
That if they hadn't have killed Romeo off, that's the best part he could have done was to come out like that.
I prefer that it wasn't Romeo. I prefer that it was just some random guy and there's like, here you with the crossbow, just sitting there for a little while, waiting until they open it.
Because he pops out and he says car trouble. I imagine that's probably what he was doing when the boot was down. He was underneath it. He's probably sitting there. I need to think of something really clever to say when they get down here,
They get here. My one-liner.
Open the boot.
Yeah, and it's his only line in the whole film as well. So he was sitting there and he's like, it needs to be good. It needs to be good, man.
Yeah.
That's John Carpenter going, you pick your own line here. Make it good.
But Cabby shows up to save them again here. And this is when we learn, and they get in and they say to the president, where's the tape? Gone. And then Cabby's just like, oh, there's tape?
I traded for it.
But no, he doesn't even say that.
No, he just goes, this
says, I have the tape.
Yeah, he's just like, I have the tape. And you're like,
again, John Carpenter he's gonna assume that you are smart enough to connect that Romeo had the hat Said he traded it with Cabby. That's how it's done. We don't need to hear Cabby tell us that he traded it. We don't need to explain any of it. We're smart enough to see why he now has it. It makes sense. And that's all I want. I just want
we know who had it. We know who had it. We know that whoever had it traded something to Cabby for his hat. And now Cabby has it, you know. Let's put the let's do the simple maths. Like, that's it. Yeah. But I like that Snake takes the tape and he's just like, let's just have a quick listen to this. And he has like a 2-second listen, then takes it out, and the president's like, I'll have that back, and he's like, no I don't think so. I'll hold on to this. I know what this is worth.
Yeah, brilliant though. It's just like he doesn't force, as you said earlier, it doesn't force feed you anything. It's just plain and obvious. There you go. Yeah,
it's nice and subtle.
But I like that now we have this car chase on, but it's, you know, the other way, normally you see a car chase and it's like these real quick cars and they're real, you know, great handling and stuff. No, it's just some shitty taxi. And, you know, the Duke's car is nice, but I don't think it, you know, runs particularly well. Other than the fact that it has kick-ass chandeliers on it, it's not really a great car, you know?
Well, we missed a bit where they're on top of the World Trade Center just before your man comes out of the car, where you see the brain trying to escape on the plane. And the lads are hitting the wire with the rock, and the plane just falls off and starts spinning around in circles like a matchstick. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So they go up to the World Trade Center after he gets... That's where Brain went with the president, and that's where Snake meets them, because he knows that's where the plane is.
One thing in the next scene that I personally didn't know was that if you drive over a mine, it will cut your car perfectly in half.
Yeah, that was it.
Perfect halves.
They're driving along, and this is what I like. He's like, you read the map, and you know Snake will drive. And it's like, yeah, okay. And he's like, so I'm pretty sure what we want to do here is stay left, and then, you know, just kind of just jockey to the right. And they're like, what do you mean you think? I thought you said you had this mapped out. Yeah, well, you know.
It's
you know, it's relatively there, and Snake doesn't do it, and the car blows up.
It's the two perfect halves, though.
Two perfect halves.
Perfect halves.
The best thing here is the president, Maggie, and the Brain are sitting in the back,
and they're all fine.
Just walk forward.
Not a scratch on them.
Not a scratch on them, but Snake makes it out all right, but poor Cabby, not a good end for him.
Still has the smile on his face, though.
Yeah, but then we see them and they're like, right, well, we'll walk along, and Brain is like, you want to take a left here, and they all just go right, and he's like, I said a left, and you're like, well, first of all, hang on, they've gone right, and they haven't died, so I would just trust that rather than this map, because I know that they haven't died going that way, so I'll just go that way.
To me, like,
goes left.
What are they like? How can you not see a mine on a bridge?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of rubble there, Greg. You know, it's a pretty messed up bridge.
Just don't.
Yeah, and from what we can see, there's only 2 mines on this bridge because they just kind of they never
hit both of them.
The mines again.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we see a lot of wrecked cars, so you know, presumably quite a few of them have been blown up by this point. But we see, you know, Brain dies by stepping on a mine. Now his body's still perfectly intact, so you know they're not that strong. These mines, you know, it just kind of killed him.
They're not an anti-tank mine anyway.
I mean, it didn't blow him up, right? Like it was strong enough to cut a car exactly in half, but not strong enough to, you know, mutilate a body.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, a car perfectly in half.
Yeah, perfectly in half, but not mutilate a body at all. No missing limbs, nothing. Perfectly fine.
He doesn't even land that hard on the bonnet of the car, like.
Yeah. But we see Maggie and she's kind of like looking at the Brain.
She's devastated.
And he, you know, Snake's like he's dead. Like we need to go. Now the president just ran off here, and I'm like, you know, there's a lot of mines that, like, you've just seen a guy get blown up by a mine, and you're just gonna just run that way.
That man's definitely running, dragging his feet along the ground. I'm not tripping none of those.
You're like, maybe just like sprinting off into the unknown is maybe not the best idea here.
Yeah.
Now what I like here is though,
Maggie decides she's gonna stay back, and she's just like, no, you know. I did love this man, and I'm just going to stay here. So Snake gives her the gun. And, you know, she's a good shot. We've seen her a good shot. Not the smartest, though. Starts firing when the car's a bit too far away.
I thought the same thing. You could have waited. You could have timed that a little bit better, you know?
Yeah. Like, just wait for him to get a bit closer. popped 2 shots into him.
Yeah. She was a bit premature with that, all right.
Yeah, and it works out badly for her because she gets absolutely flattened out of it.
Straight
they
into
were a
another
bit
car.
gratuitous though with her mushed body, weren't they? Like,
that's what I mean. Like,
any blood. She's absolutely mangled when you see her.
Yeah, that's my point. She's in bits.
Mine.
This lad steps on a mine that, hasn't done any damage to him other than the fact that, he's dead. And she gets hit by a car and she's like a bloody battered mess. You're like,
But it's not even just hit by a car, it's hit by another car into another car.
Yeah, but like
she's
even
smushed.
You'd still expect a mine to kind of be more dangerous than any of
that.
that. But
then again, you could just envisage that it took the brain's legs off.
Yeah, but he still has his legs. That's kind of you can see his legs. They're still there. So
I was half expecting the brain to kind of go, "Oh, lads, I'm okay."
Actually,
come back for me.
The head's a bit sore, lads, but I'm all right. Other than that,
I'm good to rock on, lads. Come on.
But as this happens, Snake and the president have continued on, and they've got to the edge of the wall. While this is happening, Snake has hit the tracker button, so they know where he is and they know he's on the bridge. So they've sent a rescue team to the bridge, and they're like, cut down the wiring at the wall. We'll put a lynch down, be able to strap the president up. We'll pull it back up. That'll get him on top of the wall. And then Snake's on his way to get into it, but the Duke catches up to him with a gun.
With his gun.
So he's like, well, I better have a bit of a scrap here before I go up there. So Snake wins the fight pretty easily. He's a better fighter than Duke, which is fair enough. He's military trained, all that. But he wins the fight, and instead of taking the gun and going,
yeah, he just leaves it behind.
I'll take this so that he can't shoot me with it.
Yeah, I'm taking this off you because you can't be trusted with this gun.
Yeah, you're definitely going to shoot me when I turn my back on you, so I'm going to take this. He just leaves it there, and he's like, now, and I can kind of understand, maybe there's a bit of a panic. He's like, oh, I've only got a couple of seconds left. Like, I've got 2 minutes to get up that wall. And you're like, okay, I can understand.
This is what I like here, because they're really building the time now, because you've seen him look at it. You've only ever seen him really look at it once every so often, but now he's looking at it
frequently,
more consistently.
But you can understand, you'd be like, oh, I'm just in a rush, so he just run off. But he doesn't run off. He beats him up, looks down at him, sees the gun, and then just goes, nah, it's fine. So he goes over, and he starts getting lynched up. Which I thought they might just leave him there, to be honest. I was like, are they just going to...
They were 100% going to leave him there.
But he had to tape. They couldn't leave him. He still had to tape.
But they didn't know that.
No, but the president drops it down.
Oh, does the president... Okay. Oh, all right. Okay. So, the president drops it, and then they start pulling him up, and the president stops it.
Kills the 2 guys on the wall. He shoots 2 guys on the wall.
Yeah. Duke gets up, and he starts firing at a thing. And the one thing that kind of the president, as he's bringing Snake up, stops it
to draw Duke out, and then the president just rains down bullets.
Hey, number 1, you're the Duke.
Hey, who's A number 1 now? Who's A number 1 now? And then he brings.
I have to say though, Donald Pleasant had one of the best voices.
Yeah, it was very
instantly recognizable. Donald Pleasant's voices. It's so good, like.
But they bring Snake up to the top anyway, and they get him down, and all great. Oh, the president, yeah, great. Now the one thing that I don't really get here is they're like, right, we'll get the president ready for the telly, and they're like, obviously, he's been beaten up, so we need to cover up the black eye and all that. Yeah, that's fine. Why are they giving him a shave?
Because he looked scruffy.
But he's been in there less than 24 hours. I mean, he was clean shaven when he went in. He was clean shaven when he came out, but they just shaved him again.
I think it's more just to kind of put forward how nonchalant he is with the whole thing. How, like, because Snake says to him, people died, and it's clear he doesn't care.
Yeah,
he doesn't give a shit. They weren't people to him.
Yeah, well, see, this is the bit I really like is when Snake's like, I want to talk to the president. They're like, he's going on telly now, and he's like, I want to talk to him, and they're just like, okay, fine. And the president's like, yeah, that's fine, let him come here, because he's like, this guy did save my life, and you're kind of like, okay, maybe the president is appreciative, and he's like, a lot of people died there to get you out. What's your thoughts on that? And the president's just like, it is what it is, sort of thing, like, yeah, they died, but whatever. What I like about this is that I think this is Snake judging the
If
president.
he's going to give him the tape or not.
Am I going to give him the tape or am I not? Because if he says, you know, I will make a point to say that I want to thank these people who gave their lives to save my life, Snake would have been like, okay, I'll give him the tape. But he doesn't. He's just like, those people don't matter. So only I matter. And Snake is like, yeah, cool. Oh yeah, there's the tape, which he's obviously stolen from cabbies, like from the cab, you know.
Well, we don't know this, yeah.
Well, yeah, you don't know it yet, but like that, it's obviously where it does come from. So he gives him that, and then he walks off, and you know, Snake, I got a proposal for you. Me and you work together, and this is the little callback I like. It's Plissken.
Yeah,
it's such a thing.
It's just no matter what you say to me, I don't want to work with you. So no matter what you call me, I'm gonna say call me.
Are you going to kill me now? I'm too tired.
I'm too tired. Maybe later.
It's just brilliance from Kurt Russell and the screenwriters as well.
Well, this is what I mean by Kurt Russell. Like the whole time he's talking to people who are, you know, meant to be above his station, you know, like the prison, the head of the security in the prison, the president himself. He's real nonchalant and just like, are you going to be on the level with me or not? And then they're not, and he's like, yeah, fuck you then. Like
Snake doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah, he's just like, fuck you, I don't care. Like I'm going to do my own thing. So the president gives his little speech. You know, I'm sorry I can't be there. You know, I hope that this little message will make up for all of it. And here we go. I presses play. It's just
Cabby's music.
Cabby's music playing, and you can just see the president. He's just like, oh shit. And the thing is, Snake has something that's worth a lot of money here,
but he destroys it.
But he destroys it. It's not the money. Like when he robbed that federal prison, it wasn't for money. Or when he robs the federal bank and stuff, it's not for money. He's doing it to. It's not about personal gain or personal wealth for him.
That's him just being him.
It's him trying to level the playing field, I think. Which is kind of like, it's not a great motive for doing everything that he does and stuff, but you know, at least shows the kind of character he is. That it's not, you know, I don't do this for my own benefit. I do it because I feel it's what's right. Like
that's the end of the movie.
That is the end of the film. Yeah, as we see Snake just pulling the bits out of the tape. It's a great film, to be honest. Like I love it. I think it stands up very, very well. Like obviously, it's graphically, graphically, it's not, you know, anything stand out anymore compared to what we have now. But you know, it was made in the early 80s. So
we forgot to do the ratings at the start, Ted.
Yeah, I was going to jump into them now. So Rotten Tomatoes, 64 critics gave it 86%.
For a 1981 movie, that's pretty fucking good.
Yeah. And considering like what film it's an action film, and you think about the other action films that came out in and around that time and into the early 90s, like there's some pretty big ones. So to be getting, and like Kurt Russell isn't, as we said, he's not the biggest guy either. So like he's not as well known anymore. Like I would say, if people asked for an 80s action hero now, you know, you'd hear, you know, Arnie,
this
Rambo, like stuff like that. You probably wouldn't hear Kurt Russell's name by too many people anymore.
This is what I was saying earlier. Like there's certain people that have big names in the 80s. So you've Van Damme, you've got Bruce Willis, you've got Schwarzenegger. But if you ask for Stallone, if you ask for a character name, like apart from Dutch is in Predator.
Snake Plissken.
Yeah, apart from Dutch in Predator, apart from John McClane, right? Can you remember Van Damme's characters from Kickboxer or
no? Well, I mean, you'd have Rambo, obviously, but like Snake Plissken's a big one. But if you ask people who plays Snake Plissken, a lot of people I think wouldn't know.
I think a lot of people would mix Kurt Russell up because it's not the Kurt Russell that you get to know throughout the 90s.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. So I think that's what really stands out here is like that it gets such a good rating, even with, man, the rest of the cast is very good as well. Like I don't think there's anyone in this film that I'm like, they didn't suit. Like the president, I suppose, doesn't really suit a president of idea, but at the same time, he does a good job in being like, you know, the scared, but you know, also once everything goes back to being what he wants it to be, you know, the self-righteous, holier than thou kind of guy. He does a good job of it.
He does that though. He does that very well in Halloween as well as
Donald Pleasence he's one of those actors. Everything again is effortless for him.
Yeah,
you know,
he's a great actor, but just as president, I don't know, like it's not what you'd expect a president, you know.
Yeah.
Normally in like these kind of films.
I suppose. Who else is him and Tom Atkins were both Halloween actors. I mean, I know Tom Atkins was Halloween 3.
We don't talk about that Halloween.
The fake one.
That was terrible. Well, you know,
I don't mind it. Like it's easily the worst one of the lot. It's just the fucking song. That song.
But
I think it was supposed to be the starting of an anthology, wasn't it? They were going to make the Halloween movies.
Yeah, then it didn't go to us.
Series that they were going to be. It's just going to be Halloween, but a different story every time. But
it collapsed majorly.
Put the kibosh on that.
It didn't do well, and that was the end of that story.
Well,
all right.
How do we fix it? We bring Michael Myers back.
Yeah, but so as I say, 86% out of 64 critics, and then an audience score of 77, which is strange to me because normally the audience rate things a little bit higher. Now I didn't look into what people didn't like about this, but knowing Rotten Tomatoes, I can be nearly certain that people were like, the graphics aren't great. Now maybe
it's
people
dark.
now. Yeah, but it should be dark, you know. That's the sort of thing. Like this film should be dark. You're in a dystopian society with, you know.
No, I know, but that'd be one of them reasons.
Yeah, it would be. Now, there's also some valid criticisms, like, you know, why are the mines so shit? Like, what's the story with them? They can do no damage. Like, they do less damage than a car, but
that kind of stuff though is forgivable. It doesn't.
It is, yeah.
That doesn't affect the story or my enjoyment.
It's nitpicky stuff. But like when people are rating films, I suppose that's what they're looking for. They're looking for, rather than looking to give a film a good rating, people look at things to try and knock it down on, because they don't want to be. If you're someone who's like, that's great, people are like, I don't trust that guy's judgment. He thinks everything's great. But you know, if something's great, like sometimes you don't need to go and find faults with things. And there is, as we say, like we've said, there is a few faults with this, but none of them are major and none of them take away from the film too much.
None of them take you out of the experience. They're all the little things. I actually can sometimes find them more amusing.
Yeah, sometimes I find I notice something and I'm like, that's good. Like,
endears you to the movie a little bit, you know?
Yeah, like this movie drives you from start to finish, and it just builds up and builds up.
No, there's never a point. There's never a point where I was thinking to myself, like, probably could have done without that.
Yeah,
like everything has a reason. Everything had a reason. Everything had a reason to it.
You've got Kurt Russell being Kurt Russell with his arrogance and his smart aleck answers and his rash language and things, and then you've got other people there like Cabby, who's just kind of like a gentle mental head. Like everyone fits the parts to a perfect.
Yeah, well, I mean that's how you'd imagine. Like if you've been left into this place where there's no law, like you just live there now, like and anything goes, and you know food gets dropped in once a month. Like people aren't going to be normal anymore. Like there is going to be something wrong with most of them, and like you see a lot of the ones like Cabby's like relatively normal when you look at some of them. Like some of them were downstairs dancing with like dead bodies and stuff. Like you can kind of see that there's a lot of things wrong with a lot of people in here.
Well, we'll say they were dancing with that dead body. That's definitely not what was about to happen to that dead body.
Listen, Greg, I'm not going to say what those people are going to get up to, but they were dancing with it at the time. So, as a box office, it's not huge. 25.2 million, but again, it is the 80s, so it was a lot cheaper to go to the cinema then. So you're going to make less money. But I really enjoy this film though. Like it's classic 80s action, sit down, you can relatively turn your brain off. Like, not completely, like they do want you to pick up on certain things, but if you didn't, it kind of does by the end of it. You're like, oh yeah, okay, now that I actually put even a second's thought into that, I'm like, yeah, I know how that happened. But the rest of it, you can just kind of sit back and you're like, yeah.
To Carpenter, I don't think he has a dull movie.
No, I can't think of any really. Big Trouble in Little China is obviously a huge hit.
The Thing was fantastic.
Yeah, Thing's great.
Again, Kurt Russell.
Yeah, well, I think Kurt Russell was his guy. I think he found somebody and he was like, "This is, I'm gonna hang everything on this guy," sort of thing,
Well, like you look at that, like he brought him in. Basically, this was his action movie. Big Trouble in Little China was the comedy, stereotypical comedy action. The Thing was a horror. I'm generally surprised Kurt Russell wasn't in one of the Halloween movies.
I don't know if he'd have worked.
I don't know how he'd fit. I don't think he'd fit.
I don't know whether he even just as a cop or something. I'm surprised he's just not in it.
I don't know. I suppose if you're watching Halloween and Kurt Russell shows up as a cop, it's going to kind of pull you out of it.
Yeah, you're going to be like, oh shit, what's Kurt Russell going to do? Oh, Mike Myers is a dead man. Kurt Russell showed up and said, oh no, he's just some guy in the background. Oh okay.
I think of the three though, Carpenter, Kurt Russell movies, if I had to pick my favorite, I still think I'd go with The Thing.
Oh no.
I think Big Trouble in Little China is probably the one for me.
Yeah.
No, I'd go with The Thing. I think The Thing is almost one of the most perfect horror movies.
It is very good, but it's the I don't know. I love the comedy action of Big Trouble in Little China. Just how it's there's lots of jokes and stuff in it, but at the same time,
the wacky and weird monsters that come out of the ground and take him control and just
yeah. But yeah, I wouldn't have an argument to say it's better than The Thing or it's better than this because there's no real reason.
Strong.
If someone said to me that's my favorite one, I'd be like, yep, I can see why. There's no reason that shouldn't be.
Well, I'd still hold The Thing higher than I hold Halloween in terms of horror movies.
So would I. I would as well.
Everyone harps on about Halloween and whatnot, but for me, if it's there, I'll watch it. Wouldn't be one of my favorites. I wouldn't go, I'm gonna go put that on.
I know. I really like Halloween, to be honest. I think the fact that some of the sequels weren't great kind of hurts it a bit.
Well, I haven't seen.
Yeah,
you kind
of cheapens it when you got 15 sequels.
I liked the new one now, to be honest.
So did I.
I actually thought it was very good, Greg. I'm surprised you haven't seen it. It's probably one of the better ones.
Yeah, see, I kind of drifted away after I finished all the original series when I went up to Halloween H2O. I was kind of like,
oh well, you can forget all them. They don't exist anymore. This film basically takes. This is like the first film, this film, everything else in the middle. They throw kind of like a few throwbacks into it, fire and stuff like that. Like, oh, this is why. If you've watched them, you'd kind of get the little throwbacks. But at the same time, none of those films exist. They just disappeared in this story, in this timeline.
Back and have a look then.
I think you should give that one a watch. I think it's very good.
Yeah, really enjoyable.
But this was a great episode, Luke, and a great film choice. So we'll have to have you on again at some point to make sure, see if you can keep your winning streak going. But for this week, that's it. Good luck.